Hi, and welcome to this channel. If you're new here, my name is Maureen, and here we talk about mindset, we talk about breathwork, and we talk about manifestation. If you haven't already, you can like, subscribe, and comment to this video. And without further ado, let's dive into it. Today, we're going to talk about comparison, so comparing yourself to others, and also FOMO, fear of missing out. Both of them are linked together, and I really think when I think of comparison and I think of FOMO, I really think of social media, where you kind of see people's lives but under the best light. A lot of people just tend to show kind of the beautiful things they have in their lives, and then us as viewers and users of social media, we just see them and then we just think, oh, well, this is the best life and this is what I want in my life, or things like I'm not enough. So I would say there's two sides to comparing, and that's also what's happening in real life. When someone comes up to you with a good news, is that either it's motivating you or either it's demotivating you and make you feel like, it's never enough and you are not enough. I think this is a very human characteristic to do, because we do need to feel like we have a sense of belonging to others, the sense of community. And when we see someone else, subconsciously, when we see someone else having something that we don't have, then we tend to think, do I still belong to this community? How can I belong even more to the community? And this is why we tend to think like, I'm not enough, I'm not doing enough. And I also think that from a young age, we were kind of programmed to think that we needed to be a certain way and there would be only one way to do things. So, when we get grades, and you need to get the best grades, and people who have really good grades are really praised on, and other people who have maybe less better grades are not as valued. And from a young age, this creates some type of inner feelings that we still have when we grew up, and we feel like we're not enough and we were never doing enough, and we think there's only one way to do things, and the only way to do things is to get that higher grade. And then when we become adults and we grew up with this system, we still think in terms of grades. In a way. So we still think that there's only one way to do things, and if someone is doing better than us, then we need to also do or be at the same level than them, and then we will get rewarded. We will get the success that we're looking for, because this is what we've been taught from a young age to pursue. And so comparing ourselves is also very something that we find in the school system, right? When I've mentioned the grades, and, there's a kind of a median, like a general grade that everyone can have, and this is influenced by everyone's grade. And then you have the person who has the best grade and the person who has the worst grade. So it creates kind of a competition feeling, and this increases our comparison levels. Whereas maybe when we're children, before we got grades really, and we just learned how to cut paper and how to just play in the playground and things like that, we had this sense of neutrality, I would say, just this innocence to us, where we would just go out and play and not worry about anything. And then we entered the system right where, I would say for me in my school system, that started about when I was 6 years old, the grading system. And so from this young age and onward, you learn that system, and it follows you in adulthood, even though now we don't. Well, at least where I work, I don't get grades, but it's still ingrained in us. So obviously when you have things such as social media kind of showing you this beautiful lives and these beautiful things happening, and sometimes it can even be things that you don't want, but that suddenly you see and you're like, oh, maybe I should have that for success. So it's a very natural reaction to have, and linked to that, I do think that it creates what we call familiarly FOMO, fear of missing out. And fear of missing out is really also ingrained in us. Even when we need rest and we need to do things, we are afraid to miss out on some activities, some opportunities. And so then we always push ourselves to do that because we want to. And also because we see those beautiful lives. Again, it doesn't have to be on social media. I'm always giving this example. That can also be in real life, and you can be surrounded by your friends who you think have all the success in the world, and then you feel less than them, and therefore you always want to go out and try new activities, new things, because you think that this is going to make you feel full and successful, and then you will have things to talk about to these people that you have so great in your esteem, and you are valued to be a good member of society and more as a productive machine rather than a human being, then of course it's bound to happen that we will have these feelings coming up as adults, because it's very ingrained in our subconscious, and it just really asks us an effort to step out of that, to not compare yourself, to not having the fear of missing out on things, and just rest whenever you need to rest, and having your own life, not comparing yourself. And that goes back to childhood, when we learn those things, when it's ingrained in us. So it came from a system, and what I'm trying to say today is that it's really not your fault if you are today comparing yourself, if you have often the FOMO experience. It's a normal feeling, and I understand that. And my question is today is, why not creating your own life? What would your dream life look like? What would you want to do? What would success look like to you? Not like it looks like for other people, not what you see on social media, not what it looks like for your friends or your family. Really ask yourself, because again, sometimes our idea of success, which drives us to compare ourselves, is really someone else's idea of what success means, of what beautiful things mean into their lives. But we all want different things. We all have different personalities. And so sometimes we just out there pursuing things. When we get them, we realize that we're not fully happy and we're not fully into it. That's maybe because it was not our ideal life in the first place. And fear of missing out is really linked as well to this comparison thing and finding your own purpose, what your own success is. Because usually when you figure out what your own success is and what you want your days to look like and what you want to happen in your life, then you're not afraid of missing out on things, because there's nothing else that you need to brag about. There's nothing else that you need to prove. You just need to be here with yourself and find the state of peace. And, I really find that that's what it is when people start comparing themselves, that they are just really insecure about themselves, and they just need to focus back on who they are and what they want, and not kind of looking at, onto others, not really listening to others' opinion, because you are the only one who can know what you want in your life, how you are feeling, and that is perfectly okay for you to do so. So my tips for you to kind of regulate that, this is not an overnight practice, okay? I want you to know that mindset is a lifelong process. We have several layers kind of piled up. As I've mentioned, this is something we have since childhood, really. So of course it's gonna stay with us one way or another, and it's going to ask a conscious effort to kind of manage if that is something that you want to do. But when you find yourself comparing yourself, is that what is the source of this comparison? Is it someone who makes you feel bad? Can you kind of control that source? So if it's on Instagram, let's say, on social media, can you maybe kind of block these people? Or not necessarily block, but I think there's a feature that you can press where their content doesn't appear. So whenever you go onto the app, it doesn't trigger you when you see it. And maybe try to follow people who you really think are authentic on their social media and also in real life. People who are able to tell you how they feel, how their life is going. My second tip is to focus on what you have achieved. So sometimes it happens that when someone shares success with us, when we feel really happy for them, but there's always this little ounce in ourselves that is just thinking, what about me? When is my big thing going to happen? Because right now it's not the way that I want to. And it's, again, perfectly human to do that. And so focus on the successes, the things that have happened to you. And, it's not always what we would consider as a big success, because I do believe that what we think of success is just little piles up, little steps of actions that we've taken and things that have happened, and you build it over time. So it can take time, and maybe when someone tells you their success and you're like, this is beautiful, maybe it took them years to get where they are today, and you wouldn't know necessarily about that. It's the same thing for you. So think about all the successes, even the small things that came up for you, and really be grateful for those moments, because you also have your own successes. Everyone does have their own success. My next tip is to be as authentic as you can be. As I've mentioned, this creates real conversations. And when you talk, when you share your feelings with other people, be real and feel authentic. It also allows people to have the same space with you, to feel safe with you, to do that because they've seen you do it, so they are willing to do the same. And then you will realize maybe that, what you thought what their life would be, maybe they will share that they're actually feeling really distressed and have a lot of anxiety and things like that. And it kind of brings people kind of a little bit down from the pedestal that we've put them on, and just have a real conversation with people. I think this is what we lack. Sometimes when we just say, oh, I'm okay. Oh yeah, I had this big thing happen. But maybe behind the person is absolutely exhausted. Maybe they're burnt out. Maybe they had family issues, things like that, right? We don't know. And I think real success is in each and every one of us. And we just need to see it, because we don't see it. Because when we're too busy looking at someone else's thing and success and blah, 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 we don't see what's happening in our lives. So allow yourself to be authentic with others, because this creates space for healthy relationships as well with other people. And trust me that when you start doing that and you will put the boundaries in real life on social media about who surrounds you and what you see, your life would get 100% better. Okay, you don't need to feel bad about other people because you think they have a perfect life or whatever, because this doesn't exist. So I guess this was my message for you today. I hope that you all taking care of yourself. If you've liked this video, don't hesitate to like, subscribe, comment. I would love to know what you thought. And on these good notes, I will see you soon. Okay, bye.